If you want to become aesthetic, you need to learn from my past mistakes so you don't waste years in the gym just like I did. You probably think getting aesthetic takes 5+ years to achieve, but I actually achieved it in 3 years. So imagine how fast you could do it if you learn from my past mistakes. Therefore, in this video I will be covering the 5 biggest mistakes that I did and how to fix them so you won't have to waste years in the gym. Mistake number 1, not targeting the 7 aesthetic muscles. So before I started to target the 7 aesthetic muscles, I did just the popular exercises that every bodybuilder told us to do on YouTube whenever I searched upon like good exercises to do for the chest muscles, and basically everybody said that the flat bench press was the best. They also recommended that chest flies were good both for the middle and to do for the lower chest. But the problem is this doesn't target the 7 aesthetic muscles, because the 7 aesthetic muscles are the neck, the traps, the upper chest, the lateral shoulder head, the lats, the biceps, and the abs. So you can see, if we do flat bench press, it's not gonna target any of those muscles. It's mainly gonna target the middle chest and the lower chest, but not the upper chest. That's also why there's so many bodybuilders out there who look fucking strong as fuck, but they don't look sexy, because first of all they have gained too much muscle, but also because they haven't been focusing on the 7 aesthetic muscles. And the reason why the 7 aesthetic muscles makes you so attractive is because it gives you the Dorito look, basically a V-taper. A V-taper is so attractive to women because it shows power and masculinity, which is exactly what they are attracted to. Just like we men are attracted to feminine girls, which usually are the ones who has a big, breast area and thin waist, and then it goes wide again. That's why it's called the hour-shaped glass. So mistake number 2 is that I did way too much vedoom. So as I said before, I listened to these bodybuilders and I did 3 chest exercises in just one push day. I used to do push-pull legs, so I trained between 5 to 6 times a week. But usually I would only train like 4 times a week because I just didn't have the energy and the motivation anymore. I know it's also about discipline, but still, get me right, you want to do this for the rest of your life. If you can't even keep managing just 4 times a week, then you're not gonna do it. So what I found as a fix was to do only 2 to 3 full body trainings a week. You may think now that, wait, isn't that way too low? Nobody says that, but actually it is, because think about it. How do we grow a muscle? Of course, training it, but we just need to hit it twice a week, like every muscle, to make it grow. And we can make that happen by training 2 to 3 times a week. So there is actually free time other than going to the gym if you want to do other hobbies, just like I do. Like, I'm a big table tennis player, so I wouldn't have the energy all the time to do 4 to 5 trainings a week in the gym. A bonus tip that I actually want to give you now that we are this far into this video is to go beyond failure. And don't be a dumbass. Don't, when you can't lift the weight anymore, then think, oh yeah, now beyond failure. That's not what I mean. What I mean beyond failure is to use secrets like drop sets, rest pause, or half reps. So let's say that you do lateral raises and you hit your failure at 11 reps on your 3rd set. Instead of just stopping there and going to the next exercise, I want you to drop the weights, go lower in the weights, pick them up at like instantly, and then you start doing more. Then you just spam out another set. When you have done that, you drop the weight again, take a lower weight, just spam it out. And when you can't do any more there, you start to do half reps, half reps, half reps, until you literally can't even do a half rep anymore. That's going beyond failure, and that is going to make us grow even more, because we have more strength left in the box and in the tank. Like, just because you just did 11 on the 3rd set doesn't mean that we can't completely fatigue it out. So that's why we want to do that. And I go in much further details about things like this inside of my course that I currently have in pre-sale. So as you can see, there will be different topics that I'm going to cover. So for example, goal setting. I'm going to be covering the 7 aesthetic muscles much further in detail. What kind of exercises should you do for every single muscle? how should your meal look like, all of these things. I will cover them inside of this course. And even if you have some wishes as well, you can just tell me and then I will put that into the program as well, since it's in pre-sale right now. It will be a one-time payment for $35, so it will be the best investment of your life. Because think about it, getting an aesthetic body, wouldn't you pay just $35 for that? Yeah, you probably would, right? So what do you have to lose? But go down in the top link in the description if you're interested. Mistake number 3, having more than 6 exercises per workout. So when I started out at the gym, I thought, as the bodybuilders again said, like more volume is better. So I did 7 to 8 exercises 4 times a week. So 7-8 exercises in just one training 4 times a week. So you can add that up. 8 times 4, that's 32. So I did 32 exercises every single fucking weekend. No wonder I couldn't hold that up, right? So what I have found out works best for me is having a maximum of 6 exercises where one of them is legs. Because of course we don't want to have fucking chicken legs. You don't want that either, right, bro? So mistake number 4, you're not getting enough protein. So I read a book on optimal fitness performance and it said that you should hit between 1.6 to 2.6 grams of protein. The taller you are and the more heavy you are, the more on the right side you should go, which is of course on the higher end, which means that you should maybe get 2.6 per body weight kilo. But if you're smaller and you don't weigh as much, we can go on the little bit lower end. So I would recommend 2 grams of protein per body kilo weight. And another bonus tip to hit this goal is to actually buy protein powder. It's actually pretty cheap considering how long it lasts. I would buy 1 kilo of some sort of protein, that's usually the cheapest. Just 1 scoop of protein, mix it with some milk and shake it up in a shaker where it has some filter so it won't be clumpy. That's all you need. Of course, you still need to get protein from real foods as well, but it's just if you feel like it's difficult to eat too much, then it's just a good supplement to have. Mistake number 5 is that you are neglecting 8 hours of sleep. Every study literally says that you need to get around 8 to 10 hours of sleep, at least if you are at the age of in your teens, because this is the optimal for recovering and growth. Because of course, the more sleep that we get, the more testosterone that we can produce. And we all know the more testosterone that we can get, the more muscle we can build. That's why literally bodybuilders are fucking pumping themselves with testosterone. I wouldn't recommend doing that, but it's still to point it out that that's why we grow. And here is a tricky question for you, because most people actually get this wrong. If you go to sleep at 10, when should you then wake up if you want 8 hours of sleep? I will give you 5 seconds to think about it. Did you say 6 a.m. in the morning? Then you're wrong, because hear me out. If you go to sleep at 10, you need to at least get 30 minutes to fall asleep, right? You're not gonna have the perfect sleep. Nobody's gonna have that. So you're probably gonna wake up maybe a little bit in the night and then you have to fall asleep again. That maybe takes 15 minutes in between. So maybe you need to calculate 1 hour plus into your sleeping schedule. That means that if you want to wake up at 6, you need to go to sleep at 9, latest. So you have to think about it like this when you think about your sleep schedule to get the optimal results. If you want more breakdowns like this where I teach you advanced tips on how to get an aesthetic body, then I would highly recommend you to go down and subscribe to this channel so you become aesthetic as fuck, just like me. And these points were indeed important, but if you don't watch the video on the right side here, then they won't really do anything. So go watch that video right now. Thanks for watching and have a wonderful day, bro. Mwah!